Hello everyone, I'm Megan, a licensed New York City tour guide, and today we're going to walk over the Brooklyn Bridge, and I have a very special guest for this walk. So I have Sifat.
Hey everyone, we are here at Brooklyn Bridge Park. More precisely, right now we are in Dumbo, and me and my friend Megan will walk over Brooklyn Bridge, and I hope you will enjoy it. So without further ado, let's begin our walk. And it is Saturday right now, July 8, 2023, and right now I guess 81 degrees Fahrenheit, which is roughly 27 degrees Celsius. It's pretty hot, warm outside, and I'm excited to walk over Brooklyn Bridge with my friend Megan for the first time. So hit that like button as well and subscribe to Megan's channel if you haven't.
And
she's awesome.
And subscribe to the NYC Walking
Kindly
Show.
check out my channel as well, NYC Walking Show.
So he does live walks all the time.
Yep.
I'm relatively new to live walks.
But you are doing fabulous. So we'll be here still. See, it's good connection right now, 45.
Yay.
Yeah, I think we are connected right now since I'm here, so I will handle all the technical stuff. So good to see you here, Muffinsky. Good to see you here, Miranda. Welcome, and good to see you here, David.
I have to laugh. So David is my co-creator and my fiance, and he wrote, this is like that time that George Washington was trying to lie. Do we want to maybe just walk up that way? Okay, so normally when I do these Brooklyn Bridge tours, I take the guests from Manhattan to Brooklyn. And the reason why I like this route is because when you're here in Dumbo, there are so many great walk over the bridge and then sit down and get some pizza. But do you prefer to walk from Brooklyn to Manhattan?
Yes, that's what I prefer. So I always wanna prefer walking from view of Manhattan skyline will be in front of you.
Yeah, I hear that argument a lot, that you like to walk over the Brooklyn Bridge so that you can see the Manhattan skyline as you're walking. And I totally hear that. So we have decided to go backwards today, or what I would consider to be backwards. Yeah, I don't know if we want to just get onto the bridge and see if that service is
its
better.
service is getting better. You see
okay.
the connection status bar right here?
Cool.
I just set it up on your phone. So now we are good. Now the view is good right here. I can see that on my phone as well.
Perfect.
So
Thank
we'll
you.
directly walk towards the bridge right now, so it would get better.
Well, right now, off to our right, we have something that's the Time Out Market and Empire stores. So it's off in this direction. And I always think that this is so interesting because if you look at it, it looks like you would typically imagine a high-end restaurant or a high-end shop. And that's because this actually used to be a coffee warehouse. So this was all over the world, and those goods had to be stored someplace. So where did we store them? We store them in these warehouses.
Yep. And I also heard when Brooklyn Bridge started their construction, all those two anchorage, they work as a wine storage, and this is how they get money. This is how they collect money for the bridge. Like two anchorage you see on the Brooklyn Bridge, they store wine there.
Oh, secrets of the Brooklyn Bridge.
You can still saw those storage, but they are closed. After 2001, due to some safety issue, they block up those anchorage. Yeah.
Darn safety issues.
Yep. Go ahead.
Go
no
on.
problem. I want to say that this area is pretty much, I would say that, like remodified. As you can see, they did a construction and they like brand new cobblestone. As you can see, it's good.
Now, there's a playground that we can't see right now because it's summertime and we have leaves here, but we might get to see a little tiny bit of this playground. The cool thing about this playground is everything is when we go up just another block. So we'll have a look and see what that that photograph is doing. If you've ever taken a photo at the corner of Washington and Water, let me know.
Yep, let us know if you've ever been into this area.
Now, something I also always think is funny is I'm obsessed with Gossip Girl. I don't know if anybody watching is obsessed with Gossip Girl, but there's a character named Dan Humphrey in Gossip Girl, and he lives out here in Dumbo, and everyone's always making fun of him. They're like, you're so poor, you're so not cool. And I feel like now Dumbo is more expensive than the Upper East Side in most cases. Right? And it's where all the cool people are. Like, just look at these people.
And
they're so cool.
Also, I feel like that Dumbo is kind of safe to walk on, especially this area, because the only problem tourists are really think of when they are going to a new neighborhood outside of Manhattan, that how the security will be. So Dumbo is one of the places that you do not need to think of security. This is a very nice area, and this is the view Megan was talking about.
So you can see they've actually set up barricades. There's not always barricades there.
Close the street because it's weekend, Saturday. But this view is amazing. Look, what an amazing view all the time from here.
And then I don't know how well you could see it. I think it depends on like how big the screen is.
Right.
But what do you see under the Manhattan Bridge?
Empire State Building right there. We had to zoom that on 2x.
Oh yeah.
So there we go, folks. The Empire State Building.
Say hi to my friend Rob. He's Trip Hacks DC.
Hey, Trip Hack DC. Hello and welcome.
Best tour guide in Washington, D.C. and an amazing Washington, D.C. content creator.
Good to see you here, Trip Hack DC. I love this area, especially on weekends. Oh gosh, exploring this place is like, yeah, and I personally prefer, I don't know, Megan, what part of Manhattan. If I just specifically like talk about Manhattan, I don't know what
morphed over the past few years. Right now I'm really gravitating towards Chelsea, which is more midtown. Mm-hmm. But I would say I really like downtown. I've like really been digging the downtown vibes. Lower Manhattan, Fidei, Tribeca. Chelsea gives me a lot of joy, but it used to be the Upper West Side. That was like my easy answer. How about you?
Mine, it's kind of tricky as well. So in terms of neighborhood, my favorite neighborhood will be Upper East Side, but I like more of downtown Manhattan, especially financial district.
Yeah, we're aligned like that.
Right.
I do want to just point out that on top of this doorway, it says the Gayer Building. So it says Gayer Building, number 6. It kind of looks like it says Gayer Building. It says Gayer Building. Gayer, that's the last name of the man who invented corrugated cardboard. So these buildings actually used to be corrugated cardboard warehouses and factories.
Oh, wow.
So I always want to see, Trip Hacks DC says, why is this block pedestrianized, but the one that's the photo background not? A missed opportunity. Oh, that's a really good point. I never thought about that. Have you, Sifat?
Yeah, it's like, it's an opportunity, definitely, like, but I think they should, like, since it's a busy area, they had to also make sure the car flow.
Yeah.
Because if they block this whole street, it will be affect the whole area.
Yeah.
Because if you go straight directly to this direction, this is one of the entrance to like to BQE.
Yeah.
And also this Washington Street is one of the main connector of downtown Manhattan. So that's why they just can't block the whole street for tourists. And it's not always that these places get busy like this, only in weekend max. So they block a partial section of the street so that people can at least take a picture of the view, I mean with the view.
Yeah, I agree. Actually, what's really interesting, I don't know how long you've been doing the live walk specifically in this neighborhood, or when you did your first one in this neighborhood. I've been giving tours of this neighborhood for about 10 years. And when I started, all of this traffic, it just wasn't here. There weren't the
Right.
pedestrians here, and there weren't the cars here. So it's really wild to see so much congestion, both in terms of people and cars. So I think that they're probably still trying to figure out how to manage that.
Right. I mean,
my guess.
it's keep improving. As you can see, there's so many new buildings, such as one of them is Olympia. Like, it's a pretty fascinating building. It's on right. So we'll see it from the bridge, but yeah, this area is just keep improving itself, and lots of opportunities, cafe, businesses are moving here because this is a tourist hive. So yeah, they had to be matched with the flow.
One of the things I was telling one of my tour groups this week, one of my very first jobs giving a tour was working on the New York water taxi, which is a hop-on, hop-off boat that goes around the island
yellow
of
one,
Manhattan.
right?
The yellow one, exactly. And they had a stop here in Dumbo, and nobody got off. And they would say, what is there to do in Dumbo? And you're like, there was an ice cream shop. There was Grimaldi's Pizza. There was Giuliana's Pizza. And that was basically what you could do in the carousel. So it's
Right.
like, oh, you can eat some ice cream and ride a carousel. The shops, Time Out Market, knowledge of Washington and water where you can take that wonderful photo
Right.
just didn't exist. And it's really been in the past 10
as
years.
you mentioned in the very beginning of the video, I guess, that this area doesn't exist 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Like Dumbo was an industrial site. It's not a tourist spot back then. All because of Jane Valentus and David Valentus, this place become one of the hyped nowadays.
Yeah, it's really crazy. My understanding is that he bought up these buildings. Like, he was basically just asking people, what's the new hotspot in New York City going to be? And people said, oh, well, we think maybe check out this neighborhood under the Manhattan Bridge. We got a very loud ice cream truck coming up. And he was like, okay, I'll check out this neighborhood, started buying up property. I think it was zoning laws that made it so he couldn't really do anything with it for a while. And then after the zoning laws changed, he was able to turn it into the condos and the shops and the bustling hotspot that it is today. But he's such a forward thinker. Like, I wouldn't, I mean, I don't have the money to buy property in a neighborhood at the moment. But I don't even know that it would have occurred to me to ask around, try to find the new hotspots. And then when I found it, be like, I'm not going to buy one building. I'm going to buy like 20.
So here we are on the bridge, almost 140 years old. 140 years old bridge we are on right now.
I'm very bad at math. So the Brooklyn Bridge, what are your favorite parts of the Brooklyn Bridge?
It's a very tricky question. What is my favorite part of the bridge? I would say that just underneath of this pillar, it seems like so peaceful. It seems like you are connected to a history. It's not just a bridge, it's a piece of history itself. And as you all know, that this bridge has a lot of tragedy and a lot of fun facts.
One thing before we get into any of the history of it, we're not going to see it so much on this side. I think we really experience it on the Manhattan side of the bridge. Again, when I started giving tours, this was totally different. First of all, there's a white line on the sidewalk.
Cyclists.
Yeah, this white line, my job when I was giving tours was basically to tell everybody to not stand on the side of the white line that we are walking on right now. I was like, you will get run over by a cyclist. And
Or you will get some slanged by a cyclist.
You'll get words we're not allowed to say on tours. And there was so much cyclist rage. Now the cyclists have their own lane now, so it's...
Yeah, it's right here. The cycle lane, the designated cycle lane is right here.
And I had assumed that when the cyclists were gone, that the bridge was going to have so much more room for pedestrians.
Yeah, definitely. and it's more like relaxing to walk here. So do you remember how many times you have been crossed Brooklyn Bridge? Roughly?
Hundreds.
Hundreds?
The very first tour I ever gave was a Brooklyn Bridge tour.
I remember when I started my YouTube channel like 4 years ago, my first video was in Brooklyn Bridge.
Really?
Yeah, because I always believe that this is a very special place, and starting something special should be start from something special.
Yeah.
So that's why I chose it.
Just want to see what. It's hard to read and
It's
and
hard
walk.
to read and walk.
I'm
but
very impressed that you do this all
Yeah.
the time.
It's kind of used to it, but maybe you need some time. Like what you do, giving a lot of tour, that sounds very tough to me as well. Like you had 2 tours today, right? Back to back?
I did. It was interesting. There was a really wonderful family. They were just the coolest people. They booked 2 tours on top of each other. So it was kind of like one long tour.
I got it. So that's so nice of them.
Yeah, and they were really close together. They blended together really, really well, the 2 tours. But yes, the equivalent of 2 tours today.
Hey, Liz Illy. Aloha. Thanks for joining us, Liz. Good to see you here.
Aloha. Are you visiting from Hawaii?
I think, Liz is from Hawaii.
Oh, wow.
I see a lot of friends from my channel here.
Amazing. Thank you, Sifat's friends, for coming to join.
Yeah, thank you guys for supporting Megan as well, because she's one of the hard-working person I ever met. Like I really motivate from her as well, and I always try to do something interesting with Megan. If you haven't watched our video we covered on downtown Manhattan, more precisely 9/11 Memorial site in that area, you can go to my channel and we had a video uploaded there as well. That was our first collaboration, right?
It was. And Sifat's been such an amazing mentor and friend. I am so grateful that he is in my life. Now,
this New York song.
I know.
Angela asking, does Megan do lives as well? I mean, Megan do live as well, but not too frequent. She does, she's starting it, and hopefully in the future she will do it more. But now she's mainly focused on like interesting shorts, videos, right? Am I correct?
yeah.
But she's on to live right now because she doesn't had enough time maybe. So because she's doing live tour, like in-person live tour, the megandaily.com, right?
Yes, the megandaily.com if you want to book a tour. However, I'm going to be in Rome for the next month. So you'll have to book in August.
She has a very fun trip coming up to Rome. So if anyone watching it from Rome, definitely hook her up.
I sometimes dabble in lives. I get very nervous giving them.
I will stop and I will show you something interesting. Did you see this?
Oh, I don't know that I have.
Read it. Prohibited climbing up any part of the bridge, and look at that, what these people are doing.
Okay, so while we're on that topic, and actually if we want to kind of pull over, maybe over here, I want to ask your opinion, because as a tour guide, you know, I'm bringing groups over, sometimes very large groups of people, sometimes like groups of 60 kids crossing over the bridge. And we just noticed that there's a lot of stuff happening on the bridge. So like if we face this way, we have like those selfie
I hate
stations.
those.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you what your opinions of those are.
I hate those.
And then I never used to see this.
No, and I never recommend to people climb up any parts of the bridge. You will be in the heaven for sure.
Yes, so I don't know, whenever I see it, my heart just
bumping, I
starts
know, right?
beating.
I always talk about that. It's here to maintain it. Otherwise, no one gonna care about that sign.
Right.
It's just the bridge or the city trying to get rid of response walk. Yeah, saying the way.
And they see those selfie stations. They're always like, they all play the same song.
Yeah. concrete jungle where dreams are made of.
There's
Alicia
nothing
Keys
you
always.
can do.
Now we are in New York, especially in Times Square, near the Broadway. I mean, near the juniors, their side.
Oh yeah, that's new that they're there, or newer.
Believe me, after pandemic, after 2021, I think, things are getting changed in New York. You will see things that you will never expect to see here.
I mean, I don't know. I feel like I have to give them a lot of admiration because they sit there and listen to Empire for like 18 hours a day.
Right.
That's intense. They work hard for their money. Don't let anyone tell you that they don't. So something that I love pointing out, oh, there's a couple of things. I don't know how the buffering's doing right now.
It's getting better now. We are connected. You want to say something back there?
Oh, well, I could say it here and I can also say it over here. But we do have a lovely helicopter overhead.
A police helicopter right there. I don't know what's happening.
They're here to take photos of me.
What's up, NYPD? Yeah.
Okay, I love this guy. Do you know Frank Farrington?
No, I haven't. The master of...
He was the master mechanic, and technically it says, Master Mechanic Frank Farrington is the first to cross the East River by a traveler wire. And you have
okay.
this,
I think now I get that.
You have this like lovely photo of him. He's sitting on what looks like a swing, waving his hat to the crowd below. So the story of Frank Farrington is that the Brooklyn Bridge was the very first bridge to ever be built that was this long. It was also the very first bridge to be built using these steel wires, steel rope, and people really didn't trust that it was going to stand. So Frank Farrington, the master mechanic, wanted to prove that it would stand. So he basically zip-lined from one tower to the other. So if we look here, he basically got on that little swing and he swung from one tower to the other.
That's very crazy.
While waving a hat and proving that the bridge was stable. And I just think that's so much fun. I mean, I would never do it when I say that I think it's a lot of fun, but I think that it's a lot of fun that he did that. He just looks so happy in this picture. So I love pointing that out.
Yeah.
And I also just wanted to point out this steel cable. One of the beautiful things about walking the Brooklyn Bridge yourself and, you know, not just reading about it in a book or watching a live stream, as wonderful as we are, is you actually get to touch parts of the history. So this is part of the original steel cables that held the bridge up. This one's like because I think it's super long, it's a little more wiggly. Some of them you touch it and you cannot make it move. So we'll try to find those. But it's fun to actually come and touch that history.
Definitely. And I want to mention about one guy, Robert Emmet Odulam. I don't know if you hear about him. He's the first guy who jumped from Brooklyn Bridge. Like back then, stunt was a very popular game. Like in May 19, 1885, around like 5:35, he jumped from the bridge. Since he's a stuntman, he had always want to prove that jumping from a bridge or higher level to the water, nothing gonna happen to you. But she was wrong. When she jumped from the bridge, the water, it was very windy day and he landed like an angle and he died.
No! That's a sad story.
Yeah.
I just always like to point this out. Little plaque. It says the builders of the Brooklyn Bridge. John Roebling died before they ever began construction on the bridge.
It was a kind of funny incident. I think what happened to John. I think he was taking some sort of survey and literally a boat crashed into his toes and he got tetanus.
My toe in water, it will heal. And it didn't. And he had this like really agonizing death. But you're right, it sounds really funny when it's like, how did he die?
Right.
He had a big toe injury.
Right, very big toe injury. And I think then his son, 32-year son, Washington Roebling, took the lead.
Yeah. So Washington Roebling took over. Things were going okay for him for a little bit, but then he came down with the bends, which is a disease like where a lot of divers will get it. If you go very deep into the water and come up too quickly, you get air bubbles in your blood, and it has different effects on people. Now, at the time that they were building the bridge, they didn't know what the bends was. And they were just wondering why when people came up from construction, why were they dying? Why were they getting sick? Why were some of them throwing up? And some of them had no effects at all. So John Roebling got the Washington Roebling got the bends. He was paralyzed from the waist down. He had to sign off of the bridge. And the field engineer that took over was his wife, Emily Roebling. Now this was a year when women were not allowed to go to school to learn how to become engineers. This was a year when women did not have the universal right to vote. It was 50 years before women got the universal right to vote in all 50 states. And it was a year when most women, if they walked up to a group of men working on a bridge, the men would look at her and say, oh, so cute, you think you know how to build things. Go home and make me a sandwich.
Aww.
But Emily Roebling taught herself everything that her husband knew. Some people say she learned even more. And in 1883, it was Emily Roebling, America's very first female engineer, that oversaw the completion of the Brooklyn Bridge. She was also the first person to cross is the spot Lee's army approaching Gettysburg. That's a fun fact.
Yep, definitely. Oh gosh, this song. It makes me headache most of the time nowadays. Before I really inspired, but now too much.
You know, this is always an interesting.
I mean, after opening Brooklyn Bridge, it was a massive hit. I mean, everyone liking the bridge by far. But right after, I think, opening Brooklyn Bridge, 1 week after opening the Brooklyn Bridge, there was a lot of crowd and screaming. I mean, she was screaming, collapsing, and made a chaos right here. And around like 12 person was killed because of that chaos, and 7 injured so severely. So people lost trust, that they thought that this name is Barnum,
Greatest Showman.
something like that. Then he decided to make a bridge. So I think on May 17, he just crossed with 21 elephant and 7 animals as well. Regain the
21 elephants can do it.
because back then suspension bridge doesn't have enough good reputation.
Yeah, and this was something like a book. It's called The Great Bridge. I don't know if you've read The Great Bridge.
No, I haven't.
Fun fact, I've read it 3 times.
The Great Bridge?
Only because I was so nervous before I gave my first tour.
Okay.
I was like, I must memorize every
Everything.
word of this book. So in The Great Bridge was higher up than most people had ever gone before in their lives.
Oh wow.
We didn't have skyscrapers.
Back
We
then.
over this bridge and seeing like seagulls swooping underneath your feet for the first time. People felt like they were on the moon. Some people literally described. But back in 1883, scared, and it
Right.
caused the stampede, and had to have elephants prove that it was okay.
Okay to cross.
I wish there was a picture.
Oh yeah, I hope so.
That's like, I don't know. I really like elephants.
Not a huge.
Yeah, so this is something that ever since I started giving tours, there were always souvenirs.
Had to mute. It's seems like transmission signal is very weak here on the bridge.
Oh, I feel like, yeah, sorry everybody if it starts buffering.
Yeah, it's still saying transmission unstable, means it's buffering.
Yeah, sorry if it's buffering.
Yeah. And
I feel like I always have
but
this
it was
issue.
definitely a lovely walk here on the bridge, and it's very crowded today, to be honest.
Yeah. So I'm curious, do you think that walking over the Brooklyn Bridge, like the experience has gotten like better since your first live stream? Or do you think it's gotten worse? Or how has it changed?
Yeah, when I ago, it was slightly different, as you said. Back then we had some friendly cyclists.
Yeah.
And I think that's the major change with maiden lawn.
I learned about the camels. I learned about the leaning.
To cross the bridge, because this bridge is roughly 1.1 mile long, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah, yeah, I think that's right.
Yeah, 1 mile. It's a long walk for many people.
Yeah, people always ask me, how long does it take to cross the Brooklyn Bridge?
It's very people to people. Like for me, if I just plan to cross the bridge without stopping, might be 30 minutes. But if I want to stop, take some photo, max 40, depend. You can spend an hour here on the bridge.
Yeah.
But roughly 30 to 35 minutes.
Yeah, I usually say, like, if you really book it, if you're like one of the people who's jogging over the bridge,
right,
you can maybe do it in like 15 minutes.
Right, right.
But the truth is, I feel personally, if you do that, you're missing out on so much.
Right.
You don't get to stop, you don't get to like look at the buildings. You can see the Statue of Liberty at one point from the Brooklyn Bridge. So I personally like to take it in. I like to imagine what it would have been like to see the seagulls under your feet for the very first time. And I, of course, love taking photos.
Right. Trip hack, this is it. Is there any good pizza on the Manhattan side that you can recommend?
Yes, I can. So if you turn left off of the Brooklyn Bridge, when you get to Fulton Street, turn left again. So you're basically going to make like a U-turn, but the U-turn is going to be on Fulton Street. And there's actually a couple of places that you can get to on Fulton Street that have amazing pizza. So the first place
there is a Joe's Pizza on Fulton as well.
Exactly. So there's Joe's Pizza. Tell us about Joe's Pizza. Hit it.
Joe's is, I think, one of the best pizza. I mean, technically, because I think it's get more hype because of it's featured on a very lovely movie Spider-Man, and the main branch is on the West Village, but still they had several branches, like one on the Fulton Street, another one on the 41st and 40th Street on Broadway, and another one is definitely West Village. Like, yeah,
so you get Joe's. Now Joe's is that greasy New York slice. It's made
greasy New York slice.
I mean,
I like it.
Like, there are days where that's exactly what you want. You're like, I want this greasy New York slice. I want to shove it in my face. Super delicious. It is arguably the best slice in the 5 boroughs. Now, I know those are fighting words. There are people who are going to come in and say something else. If you have another opinion, feel free to write it. But I really like Joe's.
Me too.
Everyone loves Joe's.
Yeah.
Now, the other pizza recommendation that I have on Fulton Street is a place that I just went for the very first time on the 4th of July, but I had heard of it for a long time. It's called Keste. Have you eaten at Keste?
No, I haven't.
So Keste, they cook their pizzas, I believe, the traditional Italian way, which is in a wood-burning oven.
Oh, that sounds fascinating.
I was totally influenced by their Instagram account. They had this wonderful Instagram post on 4th of July. And I basically said, David, we're going to Keste Pizza. And we sat down, and I was obsessed with this pizza. We got kind of like a strange pizza. It had like figs that had been marinated in some sort of liquor, and some interesting cheese and some interesting spices. It was a white pizza, so there wasn't tomato sauce, I believe. But they have just like traditional margarita pizza and lovely cocktails. It's a nice sit-down place. Joe's is a shove it in your
Right.
face.
It's kind of a rush spot. Like you had to grab a slice and you had to like eat it as soon as possible.
Yeah. But Keste is the, like, you sit, that's where you take someone on a date.
Right.
Like, you can, if you walk from Brooklyn to Manhattan and you want to end with pizza and have it be all romantic, you want to go to Keste.
Definitely.
If you are, I want to walk to work, you want to go to Joe's.
Right.
Or if your date's a Marvel fan, you go to Joe's.
Oh, okay. I get it. I mean, yeah. But overall, I think there are like that's what I really don't compare pizzas with different stores or different flavor, because New York style pizza, I find one thing which is authentic New York style pizza, you will always find thick crust. The crust is slightly thicker. The authentic New York style. But as you mentioned about Italian pizza, they are mostly focused on their cheese, but they had a very thin crust. If you observe it or not, I don't know, but Italian pizzas are slightly very thin crust, and they are always very focused on cheese, because cheese is life for Italian people.
I love cheese. Wait, I just had an amazing idea. You could give yourself a Brooklyn Bridge pizza tour, and I'm going to tell you how you do this. This is my wacky concoction, and you can tell me what you think.
Yeah.
I don't know if we have to mute it while we go by the music.
Trip hack, this is it. What your thought on Detroit style pizza?
Okay, well, in a minute.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'll talk about Detroit style pizza in a minute, but first I want to talk about my crazy concoction idea for a pizza tour. So there's three like main types of pizza that you can get in New York City. Pizza made in a coal burning oven,
Right.
pizza made in a wood burning oven, and pizza made in a gas burning oven. So you start out in Brooklyn.
Right.
You fuel up. You go to Grimaldi's or Giuliana's. This
Right.
is pizza made in a coal burning oven.
Right.
Walk the Brooklyn Bridge. Burn those calories. Work up an appetite. Go to Joe's Pizza. Shove a slice in your face. Then go to Keste's, sit down, have that traditional Italian pizza, maybe a glass of wine, and then decide which one you like best.
Yeah, that's definitely will be a very fun way to gain and burn some calories.
Yes. Now, I like Detroit. I've never really met a pizza I didn't like. I like Detroit style. You can get Detroit style in New York. Maybe David can help me out. I think it was called Emmy Squared in Midtown that we had Detroit style pizza. It's part of the Civilian Hotel. It's incredible. I dream of that pizza. It's really, really wonderful. And then something I've only recently learned is that, within Italy, different regions of Italy have very specific styles of pizza. And I actually have a friend who opened up a pizzeria called Unregular Pizza. And theirs is Roman style pizza, which is thick crust, and it comes in a pan, and they serve it with like a whole burrata on top.
Oh, wow.
I mean, I love the Roman style pizza, the Detroit style pizza, you name it, but they're for different moods.
Right. It's depend on your appetite, I guess, as well. That what kind of pizza you want.
Yeah.
Ice cold water, $1.
Oh.
Ice cold water, $1.
Getting that ice
Cold water for $1.
So yeah.
I like the accent.
So yeah, tell us about your favorite pizzas, Sifat.
Yeah, I mean, as I said, I like my pizza with a thick crust. I don't like a thin crust pizza. That's the only specification I had. And I don't like too greasy pizza as well. Like my pizza have to be like less greasy, thick crust, and it doesn't matter what flavor it is. Oh, also, yeah, I don't like pineapple toppings on my pizza.
Oh, now this is a fighting word. Do we want to go to the South Street Seaport, or do we want to finish up?
South Seaport? Yeah, we can go.
Up?
Or we can finish up inside the City Hall Park.
Okay, cool.
Again,
I always like when they bang like the metal against the metal.
oh, okay.
It always scares me.
Did you observe that none of these food vendor had price tag on their menu? It's a kind of scam that people should be aware of.
Oh, we should talk about that.
Yeah, like before you order anything from food cart, if you don't see any price tag on them, ask before you order that how much does it cost. It's not anything shameful to ask the price before you order. Otherwise, after you order, you might have to pay twice the price of that particular food. So yeah, definitely ask the price first. I always say this is a place, this is definitely heaven, New York City, and it's a dreamland. But here in this place, not everyone is like angel. There are a lot of devil as well.
That's such a good way of putting it. I feel like especially in the really touristy places. So like when we walked over the Manhattan part of the Brooklyn Bridge, where you have all the people selling the hats and with the selfie stands, that's when you have to be especially careful. There's the food carts where a lot of the locals go.
Right.
For example, around Rockefeller Center and at, I think it's 46th Street, there's a lot of food trucks, and that's where like the local business people go, grab really quick, yummy, delicious meal. But they all have the prices listed. It's
right. I mean, not that's what I said. Not all the people will try to rip you off, but even if you see the price tag, it's a good idea to ask.
precisely.
Because in terms of scammer, there are a lot of scammer here in New York City. Like they just wait for people to rip it off.
So what's this park?
City Hall Park, isn't that?
It's City Hall Park because it's where our City Hall is.
Right behind, this is City Hall.
City Hall is very, very tiny. So we had to build more buildings.
Isn't it a public place? But I don't know why they doesn't let anyone go inside.
Yeah.
Usually City Hall should be open for public because this is a public building.
And they just got, I believe that this art installation went up in June. I don't know a lot about it.
It seems like some sort of old furniture. They just throw it out in the garden.
Let's see.
It's called Frank.
Do not climb. So I'll have to do more research about what these
might be a new
are.
content for you.
VIP content. I don't now, do you have a Patreon?
Yes, I do.
Tell people about your Patreon.
Oh, it's just a NYC walking show, and they can sign up for Patreon. Like it's a monthly way to support your favorite content creator. It shouldn't be me, but it can be anyone. Like whoever had Patreon, whoever work you wanna support, you can check out their Patreon. People had PayPal as well. So yeah, it's a great way to share, like, or if you wanna support that particular channel, yeah. But Patreon is a great way to connect with the creator as well. You can text them, you can communicate with your content creator.
Yeah, I technically have a Patreon. It's the
You do?
Megan Daily.
Yeah.
I do.
I
I have 2 subscribers. You can be the 3rd.
Yep. I also had a premium membership, like $20 a month, where if anyone sign up and send me their address, I send them postcard every month.
Oh, that's so good.
Yeah.
So get a postcard from CFOT. We're also working very hard to get David, who's usually my cameraman, a new pair of shoes because he desperately needs a new pair of shoes. So this is probably like, what, $150?
Right, something like that.
So if anybody wants to send in either a super thanks or a Venmo to help.
Check out Megan's. You will put that link on the description box, right?
Yeah, I'll put it on the description. It's also Megan-Murad on Venmo, and I'll put the Patreon so we can get David new shoes, so he can follow me around.
So I think we can wrap up our video right here. So thank you so much everyone for tuning into this live stream. It was some technical difficulties, as you all know. It's part of the video, but other than that, we tried our best to entertain you guys, and we hope to see you all in another video. Till then, stay safe, stay positive, and yeah, keep exploring New York City with us.
And
What do
thank
say?
you, thank
No
you
problem,
so much
Megan.
for,
Thanks for
joining
inviting me.
us. His channel's amazing. If you like live streams, I'm really new to live streams. I rarely do them. He is the live stream king.
Thank you.
And just, I'm going to shamelessly plug him. If you want to see any of the parades in New York City,
covered.
he's there for the
Yeah.
Macy's Thanksgiving Day
Most of the
parade.
parade, yeah.
He's there for the Lunar New Year parade. He's there for the St. Patrick's Day
Every
parade.
parade, yeah.
Every
most of
parade,
the parade.
pretty much every current event. Like if you want like the true on the ground, unedited experience, this
Thank
is
you, thank
the
you, Megan.
NYC Walking Show is where you want to go.
Thank you so much, and that's pretty much it. And good night from New York City. Bye bye.